Hello, my name is Lauren Sullivan and I'll be presenting to you a presentation about the human immune system, talking about the three lines of defence, the immune cells, immunoglobulins, sensitivity to antigens, self-recognition and tolerance, and the biology of vaccinations. The immune system keeps us healthy as the body's defence system against infection, parasites, microorganisms, pathogens, which have the potential to cause the body harm. There are three lines of defence that the human body acts as protection. The first two are non-specific, as they respond to all foreign bodies and substances in the same way, and the third is specific. An infection is typically caused by pathogens, which are not always harmful, but found everywhere. There are two types of pathogens, cellular, which are living, and acellular, which are non-living. For example, bacteria, fungi, and parasites are all living, and viruses are not. Bacteria is a single-celled organism responsible for illness such as cellulitis, and there has the potential to be good and bad. Fungi is a selection of eukaryotic organisms such as yeasts and mushrooms, which feed on organic matter producing spores. They are mainly found in soils as opposed to fresh water. Parasites are organisms which require a host. For example, they cause malaria, which transmitted from mosquito bites. Viruses are infectious microbes made of segments of nucleic acid inside a protein shell. They are unable to replicate on their own. They play a crucial role in the cycling of carbon as well as other elements. Some viruses are parasites which have the potential to cause disease, such as mildews. Germs enter the body via the mouth while breathing, eyes, genitals and skin via cuts and scratches. There are four main methods of transmission. There are direct, indirect, via an insect bite, or contaminated food, or through contamination via food or water. Direct contact, this is person-to-person contact, touching, exchanging bodily fluids via sexual activity or potentially kissing. For example, a transmitted disease like HIV or COVID-19, chickenpox, they're also extremely contagious. Indirect contact, person-to-object surface contact, when an infectious person spreads the disease via touching a surface, leaving their germs on the surface for the next person that comes along to touch the surface and contract those airborne germs. For example, the common cold through coughing or sneezing, or influenza. Insect bite, for example, mosquito bites cause malaria, and contamination through food or water. Drinking contaminated food and water can cause food poisoning or sickness bug. Non-specific defences, the first line of defence. The first line of defence is also known as the immune system. It's the largest defence of the body, with the skin along with the white blood cells and the mucosal lining, which is respiratory tract consisting of tears, sweat and saliva, together forming a natural barrier eliminating pathogens. Within the tears and the saliva are enzymes called lysosomes, which break down pathogens, and palatine and pharyngeal tonsils are also known as adenoids, together located at the back of the throat, and lingual tonsils all have B cells that detect pathogens which potentially cause respiratory and gastrointestinal infections. Tonsillitis is an infection of the tonsils which can be painful and cause long-term discomfort with difficulty eating and swallowing. The tonsils become inflamed, protecting the stomach and the intestines. The stomach, also a part of the first line of defence, offers protection via the stomach acid, which kills pathogens in food and drink which is consumed. The epithelial cells found in the body, specifically the nose and the trachea, together with goblet cells, form a mucus, providing protection, preventing against germs getting inside the body. Pathogens are removed from the body via mucus when an individual sneezes or coughs, and the substances either move down into the stomach or are removed via the nose when blowing motion takes place. When this defence system is compromised, pathogens are more easily able to enter the body, so this is when the second line of defence comes into play. The second line of defence is the initial reaction of the immune system, consisting of cells, organisms, and tissues working simultaneously. A large network of cells and proteins which will attack foreign substances, likely to express through responses of such as fever or inflammation. White blood cells, known as leukocytes, circulate around the body in the blood vessels and lymphatic vessels, and are also stored in the lymphoid organisms in thymus, bone marrow, and lymph nodes. There are two types of leukocytes: phagocytes and lymphocytes. Phagocytes surround and absorb a pathogen when it enters the body, eliminating the threat by breaking it down. Lymphocytes begin the bone marrow, recognise a foreign substance, and attack them. Some lymphocytes remain in the bone marrow, some develop into B lymphocytes, B cells, whereas others travel to the thymus and become T lymphocytes, which are your T cells. B cells produce antibodies and alert the T cells by locking onto the bacteria and breaking it down. T cells, there are different types of T cells, which have different roles: destroy compromised cells and alert leukocytes. When these compromised individuals may show sign of inflammation and fever, inflammation is a physical response, whereas an increase in blood cells around the infected area. Neutrophils, which are produced by bone marrow, only last a few days long, dying easily up to 70% of white blood cells. Macrophages cells clean up other dead cells, known as the big eater. They produce cytokines, which are small proteins notifying the white blood cells. The third line of defence, the outer defence system, also known as the adaptive immune response, is when antibodies inside the body are activated specifically through the body, designed to eliminate microorganisms invading tissue and causing harm. This system will be activated when the two previous lines of defence are not strong enough to cope with the infection, or its bacteria is multiplying too quickly. The adaptive immune response cells identify foreign bodies, notifying the T cells and the lymph nodes. When the macrophages sound the alarm, the dendritic cells respond by travelling to the site of infection. Acquired immunity. Acquired immunity is the development of strength of the immune acquired throughout the lifetime via vaccinations, exposure to infection and pathogens. Vaccinations expose an individual to tiny amounts of pathogens and introducing those germs to the body in the hope that the immune system will learn to recognise them, and when they encounter them again, the immune system will naturally fight them off with new antibodies. Specifically, there is natural acquired immunity which you are born with. This requires no intervention. This comes from natural defence against exposure to infectious diseases. An artificial acquired immunity is when there is intervention such as vaccination. Sensitivity to antigens. Sensitivity is when the immune system believes there is a threat, misidentifying harmless antigens, resulting in an unnecessary immune response. Immunoglobulins, made up of plasma cells, are also known as antibodies produced within the bone marrow, resulting in, when they have an infection, your bone marrow will produce more plasma cells, and the immunoglobulins, these antibodies, are used to fight the infection. There are several types. Ig stands for immunoglobulin. There are IgA, IgD, IgE, IgG, or IgM. Abnormal immunoglobulins will develop if you have myeloma cells, and these can't fight an infection by themselves. This is called paraprotein. Myeloma variations are named after the abnormal immunoglobulins, such as IgG being the most common. Immunoglobulins are a combination of two matching and short-like proteins and two matching long proteins, kappa and lambda, and the two types of short chains. And A, D, E, G, and M are the 5 types of heavy chains. Immunoglobulins are named after the heavy chain. IgG is found in bodily fluids all over the body and protected against bacteria and viruses. IgA is typically found in tears, saliva, and gastrointestinal lining and mucous membranes, specific membranes within the fluid, as tears will fight pathogens. IgM is found within the body and lymphatic system. IgE is the most common immunoglobulin. causing anaphylactic, and IgG is the least understood, typically found in the respiratory tract. Antigens play a crucial role within the immune system by aiding the body by recognising differences between pathogens and normal cells. Self-recognition and tolerance play a crucial role in a person's overall health and immune system response and their physiological function, balancing immunoglobulin defence and self-tolerance. The term self-tolerance is used to describe a person's immune system recognising non-threats and self-produces antigens whilst responding appropriately. The level of response from the immune system to a foreign antigen can differ. Major histocompatibility complex, MHC, classes 1 or 2 have a major role to play in our immune system. MHC is a collection of genes forming a part of a long stretch of DNA which codes for the 3 classes of molecules MHC1, MHC2 and MHC3. If the cells contain a foreign protein and present fragments of MHC, one of the surface of the cells. What is the autoimmune disorder? Originally, the immune system would fight an infection or harmful antigen, whereas an autoimmune disease, it is the body's immune system failing to recognise the difference between a healthy and harmful antigen, so it begins by attacking itself. This is the result of destroying healthy tissue. Organs can be damaged and multiple complications can be caused. Autoimmune diseases can include rheumatoid arthritis, multiple sclerosis, and the Guillain-Barré syndrome. Their causes are still unknown. Specifically, with rheumatoid arthritis, the immune system attacks the cell lining the joints, resulting in tenderness and long-term effects, causing pain, swelling and stiffness and discomfort in joints such as the fingers and the toes, progressively worsening over time and spreading to larger joints. Accompanying these, some individuals will experience overwhelming tiredness and weight loss. Over 40% of people suffering with rheumatoid arthritis may also experience symptoms which do not involve the joints, but other organs such as the kidneys, bone marrow and the heart. However, it is most common that over the time people will experience damage to their joints and cartilage. There is no cure, but early intervention is crucial to avoid flare-ups and long-term discomfort. The Guillain-Barré syndrome, GBS, is a rare neurological disorder where the immune system attacks the peripheral nervous system, the network of nerves located in the brain and spinal cord. This disease thought to be caused when the immune system begins damaging and attacking the nerves, is often associated with an infection, especially of the airways like the flu. GBS causes weakness, numbness and pain, as well as balance and coordination problems. This occasionally life-threatening disorder can spread to the legs and arms. Treatments may include therapies. Therapy, such as occupational therapy, will support people in communication and swallowing. Other medical options could include intravenous immunoglobulin, IVIG, plasma exchange and painkillers. IVIG, formed by donated blood, is used to help control the immune system and is an alternative treatment to plasma exchange, whereby a machine is required to filter the blood, removing harmful substances. The human immune system may experience allergies. This is when antibodies are produced which recognise a particular allergen as harmful despite it being harmless. The severity of the reaction can vary from a minor irritation to a serious anaphylactic shock which may need hospitalisation. Types of allergies that are common may consist of hay fever. This is an allergy to pollen and grass. This can cause irritation in the eyes and the nose, potentially causing coughing and wheezing. Celiac disease is also another allergy, which is from gluten and wheat. This can cause diarrhea and sickness, headaches and inflammation. There are other food and nut allergies that all have a variation of symptoms. They may include shortness of breath and irritation to the airways. Acquired immunity There are 3 types of acquired immunity: innate immunity, adaptive, and passive immunity. Each has natural and artificial sources. Innate immunity is what people are born with. This is their natural immune system. Adaptive develops over time as individuals are exposed to diseases and infections. Their T and B cells recognise pathogens, causing the immune system to attack. Passive immunity is borrowed from someone else's antibodies. This lasts a short time. For example, when a baby receives antibodies from a mother via the placenta or through breastfeeding. The immunoglobulin memory is the immune system's ability to effectively and quickly respond to pathogens they have previously encountered by anti-specific lymphocytes. A vaccination is designed as a preventative against disease. Immunisation begins in the 15th century when the Chinese attempted to introduce immunity against smallpox. They did this by crushing up tiny crusts of smallpox and inserting it into small cuts of the skin. Early attempts with immunisation were surprisingly successful, leading to the progression of immunity and vaccinations. Vaccinations are designed in order to provide tiny portions of to individuals, exposing them to less harmful versions of a disease so that their immune systems can develop a natural barrier and specific pathogens when they encounter them next. Herd immunity is when the majority of the community become immune to a disease, preventing it from spreading further from person to person. This will occur when enough people within the community develop protection antibodies against future infection. There are some individuals in the community who may not be able to be vaccinated, who have a weakened immune system, like cancer patients, babies and children. The majority of individuals that are indirectly protected, these more vulnerable individuals when they are vaccinated. Most importantly, vaccinations are preventative against mortality while also offering protection against large communities from deadly diseases, with the efforts to eradicate diseases altogether. In most cases, a vaccination will prevent the individual from contracting the disease, and the individual does not contract the disease with the symptoms nearly as deadly as if they were not protected. Polio, an incredibly infectious disease spreading worldwide in the 1950s, where 1 in 200 people developed the incurable paralysis after infection. In 1955, the vaccine was developed and proven to be successful, and the only cases reported at the moment are in Afghanistan and Pakistan. Some other diseases that vaccinations protect against may include measles and influenza. Vaccinations help reduce the negative impact on social and psychological stress of the community and the healthcare system, with reducing a number of ill and unhealthy people. There is a less burden on hospitals and the healthcare system, which means that the medical professionals can focus time, energy and money on other diseases such as Alzheimer's. However, vaccinations are time-consuming, with an enormous amount of scientific testing, research going into their development. They cost billions of pounds and need to be distributed all over the UK and the world. The UK vaccinations are monitored by the Medicine and Healthcare Productions Regulation Agency. A combination of lack of trust in vaccination organisations leading to a lack of accurate and appropriate information and inconvenient locations and appointment and vaccinations affect the uptake in vaccines. Evidence suggests that 50% of Black, African and Caribbean are likely to avoid vaccinations, whereas 70% of white groups will choose to be vaccinated. The vaccine uptake in the UK has been reported lower in areas with a higher proportion of minority ethnic groups. This was a huge risk factor for the COVID-19. To overcome these complications, increasing public awareness and understanding surrounding vaccines would be significant to help, providing this information in a variety of languages, religions and cultures. So to conclude, the human immune system's main function is to prevent against pathogens and all foreign substances which may cause harm to the body, infection and disease, by providing protection via 3 main lines of defence, and simultaneously response from a variety of cells, organs and tissues, producing antibodies which create an immunity to new pathogens via vaccination or exposure to disease and infection. It is extremely complex and doesn't always work, and in some cases allergies and autoimmune diseases may develop, and transplant rejections may occur. Vaccinations have been designed and developed to prevent against disease and mortality, protecting large communities, but these can be a significant amount of scientific research and cost thousands of pounds. Thank you.